On today's show, KD finally signs that extension with the Houston Rockets and the Portland Trail Blazers Inc. 2 guys, 2 extensions before the season started. We'll talk about that, plus what we are watching for, because opening week of the NBA season is here. That's all straight ahead on today's edition of Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night. With insights only the hosts of Locked On can provide.
It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
What's up, everybody? My name is Danny Cunningham, and you might know me from Locked On Cavs. You might know my co-host, Swipa, from Locked On Nuggets, and thank you for making today's edition of Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen. Thank you to those of you that make this show your first listen every single day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else. We're on YouTube as well, so make sure you hit that thumbs up button for us, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest NBA content from us at Locked On NBA, of course, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. In today's episode, brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. We have no NBA games to talk about tonight. The preseason is over. We're waiting for the regular season. That begins on Tuesday. But as you know, the NBA never stops. We had 3 contract extensions reported today, and there's no other place for us to start, Swipa, other than Houston, because KD re-ups with the Rockets, a move that I think everybody thought was coming, right, when they traded for him this summer from Phoenix, but it's made official, or at least it's finally reported. We've got some specifics today.
Look, as somebody who is very, very, very much of a KD fan and supporter, and obviously, me and KD have had our back and forths, but I think KD is a very good player. This is a very good deal. And honestly, I was shocked because, KD, he easily could have said, I want max money. And I should have, maybe in this situation, gotten max money. But, Kevin Durant takes I wouldn't say team-friendly deal, but, Kevin, I saw he went at some people online today, when they said that, this is a deal for both sides, that he could have got more, blah, blah, blah. But I just think that given the situation, this is right at Kevin Durant. That gives them flexibility to move forward. And I'm curious, obviously the biggest thing, Danny, is that when they get into the regular season, they're going to have to probably find another guard, depending on kind of what's happening with Reed Shepherd. Could really, outside of that, they don't have anybody else on the roster that can do some of the things they might need. So this gives them some flexibility, I think, moving forward in the future as well. But all in all, just a great, great signing. I think Kevin Durant, Danny, if I told you this year that he was, Rockets are on pace for the top 4 seed, KD is on pace to play 75 games. If I told you he finished top 5 in MVP rankings this year, I don't think that would sound super crazy. Because if you get health and defense and high-level play from KD, it's going to be kind of hard to argue against it.
Yeah, I think the 75 games might be the thing that I'd just be a little bit skeptical of at his age. And I think that they have a postseason dream in mind as opposed to trying to get the most out of this guy in the regular season. He's not there to win regular season games. He's there to try and win a championship in Houston. So that might be the thing of what you said that I'm most skeptical of. But if he plays 75 games, I do think he's going to be in that conversation. Now let's head on over to Houston. Hear from Jackson
Durant.
Gatlin.
The Houston Rockets come to terms on a 2-year, $90 million contract extension. What's up? This is Jackson Gatlin, host of Locked On Rockets. And look, it was widely understood that when the Rockets traded for Kevin Durant and won the KD sweepstakes this past offseason, that they weren't trading for him on just a 1-year rental. He was on the short list of teams that he envisioned being able to spend the rest of his career, a team that he could envision retiring with down the line. And so this was, kind of something that was expected to come down the pipeline. And it's a good thing that they got it done before the regular season hits. That way there's no distractions, no lingering idea of, oh man, what if the season goes poorly? Maybe KD is going to bolt at the end. It seems like a marriage that on paper looks really good so far, something that both sides ultimately really wanted. But here's the kicker. The most important part about this contract extension: Kevin Durant sacrificed a lot of money, way more than anybody really thought was going to be feasible here. His maximum amount of money would have been 2 years, $120 million. So he gave up about $30 million in order for the Rockets to have the utmost amount of financial flexibility and roster flexibility moving forward to be able to field the best contender possible. And a lot can be made about KD's leadership and, is he a good leader? All this kind of stuff. But what you can't question here is the commitment to winning and the sacrifice to give up a lot of money here in the final few years of his career to be able to put the best possible roster around him here in Houston.
I do think from Jackson's perspective, this is a thing where it does speak to winning, right? Like what Kevin Durant is doing is, I think, a winning move. As of course, I'm struggling to figure out the backgrounds on. There we go. StreamYard is just screwing with me today. I do think that this is a winning move from Kevin Durant. Like I think that this is a thing, and you can say all the right things, but when it comes time to actually make those actions, I think this is an action that it helps the Rockets. And I also think Houston deserves credit too, because this is not the first contract they've given out where they have maybe had some leverage. And I think historically we have seen teams that have had leverage and chosen not to use it, where they're just say, you know what, we'll give you all the money. It's fine. We'll give you all the money. We'll figure it out later. The Rockets have started a trend where they're not handing out max contracts just to hand out max contracts.
Yeah.
The fact that they had set that precedent prior to Kevin Durant probably helped them be able to do this with Kevin Durant, even though KD is of course, a different stature than anybody else on that roster by a wide margin.
It's really unfortunate, and I don't want to say unfortunate as in outside of basketball. The CBA has put, I think, teams and front office in such a precarious situation that they have to be so conscious of every dollar they're spending, how it's being allocated, how long that money will be allocated, and who is coming up next after that deal. So he'd take $30 million less. This last year, again, as you said, $54.7 million. And so you do that and you take a $10 million drop. So they're looking at, okay, we're going to have another Sengun contract coming up because he took a shorter deal and a lower number. And then on top of that, Amen Thompson is coming up in just a couple of years. And then eventually you're going to be looking at, we're going to have to, Tari Eason, we're going to have to redo maybe, depending on what happens, like if DFS ends up staying, if he doesn't end up staying. But then from there, now you got Reed Shepherd coming up. So I think for them, how do we maximize this window where we're relatively cheap, but also make sure that we have room for our true young core of Jabari, Sengun, Amen, Reed Shepherd, Tari Eason. That way we can take care of them down the line and we don't feel like we got to make some crazy decision. But look, Danny, a lot of teams right now, they're trying to walk that line in the second apron. Everybody has to foot that bill at some point. The Nuggets in the future, OKC will soon in the future, and you're going to have to make personnel decisions. And I think the Rockets, that was a very smart move by them to figure out how to pay Kevin Durant what he's owed, but also to make sure they're thinking about the future as well.
The further you can kick that can down the road, obviously the better. Now, this only works like if you have super talented players, right? But like the better off you are in terms of a team building aspect of things. And you brought up a name that I'm very interested in, and it's not a this off season thing. Like there's been no conversation about it right now because it's not pertinent right now. But because the Rockets have had this strategy that has worked, like you mentioned, Sengun taking a little bit of a shorter deal, and he's making $33 million this year, which is very good money, obviously, but he's not making the most he could be making. Somebody like Jabari Smith, who didn't sign for the max, not that I think he's a max level player, but when it comes time for Amen Thompson to negotiate and sign a potential extension with the Houston Rockets, that is one I'm very interested in seeing, because the Rockets, as I said, have set this precedent of not wanting to give the max unless you truly, truly have earned it. And we'll see what Amen does this year. I think both you and I are very, very, very high on him as a basketball player, not only now, but into the future. I don't know if 1 year from now, he will be somebody that truly has earned max money. Like, could he? Sure. Could he not? Also, maybe. But I think that the potential for him to be that guy is so high that I wonder if that's the one where Houston says, maybe there's a little bit of leverage here, but you are the guy that is the max guy that we have, and we just have to give it to you.
I agree. Yeah, it's funny because you have to really evaluate players based on where they are and projections. And look at around the league, Paolo Banchero, Bron Wagner, Cade Cunningham. Those players have gotten like the super max extensions for rookies, the rookie max extensions. But Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun, obviously Cam Thomas, Jonathan Kuminga, Josh Giddey. We're still waiting on that deal to get finalized for some of these players. And obviously you got Christian Brown that's on the way coming up. All of these teams and all these players are like, hey, we really appreciate you, but there's only about so far I'm willing to go. But if you ask me, Danny, I'm in Thompson. Like, hey, dude, like, whatever the rookie max scale extension will be for Amin, I'll probably be handing that to him on a silver platter.
That's what I would be doing if I were running the Rockets. Maybe the sticking point with him could be not getting a fifth-year option, right? Like we have seen a lot of teams where they're more willing to, with players like that, give them the full max, but that fifth year is fully guaranteed. It's not the player option that some of the best players in the world get, because if you are Houston, I think you're going to want to have Amen Thompson on that roster just about as long as you possibly can, because I think he's going to be a very, very good player. Well, Houston, not the only team to hand out an extension on Sunday, is the Portland Trailblazers. Very busy team on Sunday. Not one, but two extensions. We'll talk about what they did next right here on Locked On NBA Game Night. But first, today's show brought to you by Peloton. Peloton, shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is Training Reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. It's the most important thing. You want to be at peak performance, and Peloton will help you get there. The Peloton IQ system offers real-time strength coaching, so it actually tracks your reps, suggests the right weights, and corrects your form, making every rep safer and smarter. And the swivel screen is a game changer because you can go from running on the Tread Plus to strength training without ever having to miss a beat. And finally, the personalized class recommendations keep you engaged, so you get workouts tailored to your vibe and your energy level each and every week. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push forward, and so much more with the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. That is ONE Peloton.com. Today's show is also brought to you by Monarch. Did you know that most of us can't even name all our financial accounts? Well, some of us anyways, let alone what you might be worth between 401ks, savings, investments. It can be easy to lose track of all that cash, and that can mean leaving money on the table. And I promise you that is not something that you want to be doing. That's why there's Monarch. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy to use interface on your laptop or on your phone. It can help you organize your accounts, track your spending, get a better handle on what your investment portfolio looks like without ever having to touch a spreadsheet. And you can review everything with your partner, see your shared goals, make better financial decisions together. Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it so much easier to understand where your money's going and how to make it work harder for you. So don't let the financial opportunity that Monarch has slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA, that is LOCKEDON NBA at monarch.com. That is MONARCH.com for 50% off your first year. Again, monarch.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Thank you again for making today's edition of Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen. Thank you to those of you that make this show your first listen every single day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else. Please do us a favor. Make sure you're subscribed as the NBA season gets started. The Portland Trailblazers in the news on Sunday because they signed not one, but two players to extensions. First, Toumani Camara, all defensive forward from last year. He agrees to a 4-year, $82 million contract extension with the franchise. And then a little bit after that, the Blazers agreed to terms with Shaedon Sharpe on a 4-year, $90 million rookie contract extension. ESPN, the first to report this stuff. Swipa, what was just your initial reaction when this news broke?
Steal.
Are you counting what Toumani Camara is going to do when they play later this week? Like, is that what you're saying? Or are you talking about?
I'm adding up the amount of steals he had this year, and then I'm adding up the amount of dollars you can see over the life of this contract. That is insane. I thought Toumani Camara, and again, in the previous CBA, he would have made more money than what he's getting right now. But the fact that they were able to get him at that number, and for somebody that talented, that has that much skill, and for me, I think a dude that is going to continue just to grow into like a legitimately good two-way player in the sport. He's already all defense, but the idea that you got Toumani Camara at this number, at the age that he's at right now. So I think this is like great business by the Blazers. This is grown-up business by the Blazers. And by that, I mean, years ago, the way people would think about this Blazers organization, like, oh, man, like they're not serious. They had Damian Lillard. They never seemed to build the right team around them. They had LaMarcus Aldridge. That whole thing kind of fell apart. But then the players they had, the contracts they had, it was just like, okay, what is the direction of this team now? Drew Holiday, Shaedon Sharpe, we'll talk about in a second. Toumani Camara. Then they, on top of that, draft Donovan Clingan. They draft Yang. They have Robert Williams on the roster. And then this is including the fact they got Scoot Henderson, who's still developing. So you get Toumani at 6'8", 25 years old, second-round pick, 52nd overall. Great draft pick. His offensive game is going to continue to grow and accelerate. Not as good as his defensive game, more than likely, but still, think about it. You have a first team, maybe the most versatile defender at the wing position in the NBA, and he's on your team for years to come for cheap. And then on the other end, Shaedon Sharpe, I think should be on everybody's breakout candidate of the year award list because he averaged 18.5 last year. He himself is 22 years old, one of the most athletically gifted players we have in the sport. And you get him for 4 years, $90 million. So you get Toumani Camara for 21 and you get him for 22.5. What? Great work by the Blazers. So then you got low cap numbers on these players. They're young, and then this is not including Donovan Clingan. This is not including Gang. This is not including Scoot Henderson. This is a great job. And you have Chauncey Billups to coach these dudes to be professional, to help them grow to the next step of their career all the way around. Great job, great business, great drafting by the Portland Trail Blazers.
So the Camara situation, I think, is very interesting. And I know that you experienced this a number of years ago. I don't even remember how long it's been. But because he was a second-round pick, like his contract structure is just a little different. Like they could extend him this year. They could pick up a team option. They could decline a team option to make him a restricted free agent next year, which is all similar to what happened once upon a time with Nikola Jokic, because Jokic, as you know, was the, I believe, 41st overall pick in the draft way back when. So the rules for second-round picks are a little bit different. And Camara, I agree, like this is a great contract for him. His max, like the most money he could have signed for as a second round pick was, I believe, 4 years and $87 million. So the Blazers get a little bit of a discount. Like if they would have given him the most amount of money he could have made, I still think this would have been a good contract for what he provides defensively. And with the direction the cap's going to, by time he gets to seeing that money, that $21 million or whatever that total is not going to be all that big on a cap sheet. Like that's going to be slightly more than the mid-level exception. And Toumani Camara, I think at that point in his career, if he continues to progress through what we have seen so far from him, I think will be much better than the typical player that is available every offseason on the mid-level exception. So I look at this as this is great business. And Shaedon Sharpe, what his year is going to be for him, I find very interesting. Like he is a player for me that, and you mentioned him being on breakout lists and stuff like that. I'm very interested to see what he's able to do this year in Portland. I think that this is the time for him to make a really big step. And I don't think it's a minor thing that the organization is showing faith in him and giving him an extension before the season starts. And I think at times we can underestimate how much that means to a player in terms of building their confidence before they, and it's not to say like he's some unproven guy. He's not. He's been a good player. But I think the fact that he doesn't need to go out there and play to try and earn the contract this year, the fact that he has it could be a really good thing for him and the Blazers this year too.
The idea that when you're young and you're 22, you're 25, you're competing to get your name like stamped in the NBA, because the transition from being a drafted player to like learning how to play in the NBA, that's a step by itself. There are some people that are more prime for that. Victor Wembanyama, Cooper Flag, whoever, number 1 overall pick, number 3, number 5, you kind of have a blue chip on your shoulder already. So if you step into greatness, it's still a transition, but like there's like a different weight that comes to it. I think when you're a late round pick, like Toumani Camara, literally your whole idea of the NBA is like survive in advance. It's March Madness every day. Second round pick, they don't stamp. So then he gets with the Blazers. They say, hey, your defense could actually be the thing that carries you through this league. So Toumani, being the selfless player he does, lock in, slap down on the court, all NBA defender. But then now it's like when you're Shaedon and Toumani, you haven't done anything in the league yet. You haven't made the playoffs. You haven't done anything of high standard, not an all-star. But the Blazers are so committed to their growth they're giving them the money early. And I think as a player, there's got to be so much freedom, Danny, that comes from knowing the organization has your back, the coaches have your back, your teammates are happy for you. Now, everything else is just, I'm going to grow, no pressure in mind about money. I'm going to be as best as I can be. That way, I'll be even better than this contract, and my next one will be even greater than this. I just love how affirming Portland is being to its core.
And some guys play better when they are under that pressure. I mean, we've all heard, oh, guys in a contract year, he's going to go out and he's going to have a great year because he's playing for that money. Some guys thrive under that pressure. And for some guys, it can be something that, hey, this is stress that is weighing my game down, and you're not getting the best version of me because this part of life is a little unsettled when you don't know where you're going to be, when you don't know what you're going to be making. That can be a tough situation. I think it matters to the players too. And I'm going to trust that the Blazers know their guys certainly better than you and I know their guys. But I look at this and say, this is a very good thing, I think, for all parties involved. And I expect both those guys to have a really, really good year. And fortunately for us, that year starts this week. We've got basketball games, real basketball games, not the preseason ones we've been talking about, games that actually count, games that actually matter, that are coming up this week. We're going to look ahead to a few of the games on the opening week slate that we are most excited for next, right here on Locked On NBA Game Night. But first, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, NBA season here too, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss, because right now new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you will unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. I told you earlier this week I loved the under in the Browns-Dolphins game. Somehow, for the first time in what feels like a million years, the Browns scored 31 points and that went over, and I can't wrap my head around it. I did mildly like the Browns -2.5, but the Browns giving points is just an absolute disaster. So maybe tomorrow we're going to look at Monday Night Football. Bucks-Lions. Tampa getting 5.5 on the road. Swipa, I don't know where you're at on this one, but it feels like every Tampa game is just incredibly close and electric. And 5.5 feels like they're getting a few too many points here. Like, I would look at this and say, I maybe Detroit wins that game, but Tampa getting 5.5. Like, every game they play is within 3, one way or the other, right? Like, I like Tampa plus the 5.5 there. That's where
I think Detroit about to come out angry, so I think they could definitely cover that.
Well, never mind then. But that could be your first bet on FanDuel. And if it hits, $300 in bonus bets, yours to use all across the app. So head on over to FanDuel.com. That is FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. FanDuel, play your game. Today's show is also brought to you by Game Time. Basketball season officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache. We've all been there before, right? Waiting in queues, surprise fees. That drives me insane. I cannot stand that. Prices that jump right before checkout. That is what gives me the headache. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do, be there in the building cheering on your favorite team. Well, that's where Game Time comes in, because the app that gives fans the advantage is Game Time. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. Maybe you live in OKC and you want to watch your team get their championship rings. Game Time, the best way to get in that building. Or maybe you're in New York. You want to check out Cavs Knicks later on this week. Get inside the Garden. Game Time will help get you there. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA, that is LOCKEDON NBA, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go with Game Time. Thank you again for making today's edition of Locked On NBA Game Night your first watch on YouTube. And if you are watching us right now, do us a favor, hit that thumbs up button before you go any further, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel, because that is the very best way that you can help grow the Locked On NBA channel. The NBA season is finally back. We've got games starting on Tuesday. Ring night in OKC, Houston taking on the Thunder. We've got Golden State, the Lakers, Tuesday, the late game. We've got games all week starting on Tuesday. If you had to pick one game that you're most excited to see, or maybe even most curious to see how it goes this week, what game are you looking at, Swipa?
Well, obviously, Nuggets Warriors. I mean, why not? That's going to be a huge game. OKC versus Houston. Have you been paying attention to the Twitter war right now that exists between Kevin Durant and OKC fans?
Kevin Durant's in a Twitter war with someone every day, it feels like. I mean, he's been in a Twitter war with our guy Dime Dropper. He is. I don't mind it. Like, I watch Kevin Durant on Twitter, and it's a free country. You're allowed to do whatever you want on social media these days. If that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do. I've not paid attention to it. Like, I'm not dialed into the KD Twitter wars.
Well, KD has, basically said, hey, people ask him about OKC, or anybody that you're like looking forward to seeing or you got a relationship, like, no. And so OKC fans, some of them are like, kind of like, screw Kevin Durant a little bit still. Like, they still feel a way about 2016, July 4th, which is supposed to be America's Day, which ended up being NBA Twitter Day when Kevin Durant announced that he was going to go play for the Golden State Warriors. And I think a lot of OKC fans are like, punish him, Shea. But I'm also just like, OKC is the best team in the league. You're going to go into the season with the lowest odds to win the championship. You know what I mean? You're going to have the MVP. Everything's on your side, and it's ring night. I'm excited to see Kevin Durant and Houston have to battle against OKC. I'm actually really excited to see what that matchup looks like. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm just really honestly just excited to get like basketball so we can just like watch these games and really dive into everything. I think that the Warriors versus Lakers is going to be interesting when that happens. No LeBron, obviously. But Steph versus Luke is going to be a sneaky matchup. And one of the reasons is I think that like Steph Curry has a chance really with Jimmy Butler and Draymond and Al Horford. They can be better than people give them credit for this year. And like they can open the season off with a dominant win. And what if we get a Steph Curry 30-point game? Like to start the season off. Luka's going to have 30, 7 and 7, 8 and 8. He's Luka, right? But that team is not all that good. Austin Reeves and Luka are going to hunt all year. I'm just excited to see kind of how these new matchups, the new iterations of these teams, how it kind of manifests itself on opening night.
If I were to be completely honest, I hate that Houston is in OKC for ring night. Like, I hate that Kevin Durant's going to be there because obviously there's all that history with that organization that you brought up. And this is a night that should be solely, yes, like it should be about the game, but it should be a celebration of Oklahoma City winning the title last year. And anytime Kevin Durant is in OKC, it's a story. It is a thing that makes the game just a little bit bigger. And there are other situations, like anytime LeBron is not on the Cavs and he's in Cleveland, it's a big deal. Like, let's say hypothetically, the Cavs win the title this year. The very last team that I would want to see in Cleveland for ring night is the Lakers. Like, that is because it becomes about something that it shouldn't be about. And I wish that, like, OKC and Houston, I think, is a fascinating matchup. On the surface, I love that game, but I just don't love that the closing the book on the title team for the Thunder shouldn't have to involve Kevin Durant. And that's the thing that I just wish they got their moment. And like, I wish this was a thing that we weren't necessarily talking about. I wish that we could, maybe they're playing the Warriors. Maybe they're playing Denver, who they had a great 7-game series with in the postseason last year. Maybe it's the Wolves, the conference finals. Like, I almost wish that's what the schedule was like, because this is a game that is going to just bring more than just the ring night into it.
That's your problem, Danny. Come on. Like, everybody listening to the podcast,
they
watching
deserve
live,
their moment.
Y'all, this is theater. Danny, this isn't just basketball. But we're here to sell tickets.
3 weeks. It'll be theater in 3 weeks. You're selling tickets this game no matter what.
Danny, your problem is you didn't realize the NBA signed a new deal with Days of Our Lives. This is a soap opera. We got to get conflict, drama, love interest, relationships that fell apart. You know what? Matter of fact, if I was the person that's setting the ads, Danny, for that game, you know what I would say? Star-crossed lovers. Once all they knew is each other's embrace, and now the violent split. He went off and married a girl and got rich, left her, but now she's back with a vengeance with her own ring. Like, I would go lead all into it. Make it a soap opera. Bring Stephen A. Smith, a.k.a. Brick, bring him into the fold and allow for him to be the security guard that escorts Kevin Durant into the court. I think you should just lean all the way into it. This is what we were here for. We waited all off season for this. I want the drama. And you know what, Danny? Deep down inside that wonderful heart of yours, so do you.
But you get that drama 2 weeks from now. You could do this in November, and it would be the same. You don't have to do it on ring night. Get them there. It's like, do you invite your ex to your wedding? Probably not.
Hey,
That's
maybe,
kinda what this is.
maybe we got a good relationship.
Probably not. It's uncomfortable for everybody. Should be about that. I will say, I think you got a future though in writing the soap opera voiceovers, like the promos. I think you got a future there. I think you could pull that off. Quickly, one other game super interested in this week is Celtics-Sixers. I want to see if Paul George is on the floor. I want to see if Joel Embiid is on the floor.
Yep.
I want to see what Philly looks like because
Yep.
no one believes in Philly, and I don't believe in Philly. But there's a world where those guys are healthy. I don't know if it's this world, but there's a world where those guys are healthy, and that Sixers team could be a force. And maybe we get a glimpse of it. That's a game on Wednesday night to watch for.
Embiid VP this year, if he's healthy.
No, he's not playing 65 games.
Why not?
No, because he's not playing 65
The
games.
year hasn't started. I'm not letting you cloud my rainbow.
No,
I'm believing in Joel Embiid this year.
No, you can believe in him. He could have the healthiest season ever. He's not playing 65 games. I will bet you $100 Joel Embiid does not play 65
I don't need
games
to bet money. I have faith.
I think that's because you know I'm going to be right about that one. Well, this time next week, we'll be talking about actual games that happen. We will be talking about actual NBA basketball games that count. There will be standings to look at. There will be scores. There might even be a player of the week we talk about, but it's going to be right here, Locked on NBA Game Night. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast, because this channel, starting on Tuesday, we're talking about games that count. And Swipe and I will be back next Sunday talking about all the games from Sunday's slate. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else, and on YouTube as well. Hit that thumbs up button for us and click the notification bell so you don't miss the latest from us here at Locked on NBA. And we'll be back later talking more NBA.